Well, thank you so much, Dan, for inviting me to speak today. Good afternoon, everybody. I was saying that, since this is social media, maybe we should bring the cocktail party in, and make it more social. Because, one thing I love about social media, if you win this eRace, then it really can be fun and really rewarding because you can see the results immediately when you post on a Facebook page or tweet something that's of interest. You can see the results, and that's what I really love about it. So let me start off by saying that if your Facebook page has over 500,000 fans and you're running a contest with Wildfire and you're notifying your fans via Bushaka, and your Instagram profile is complete and linked directly to your timeline for better engagement, and your tweets include trending topics with hashtags, and you're tagging other brands with @mentions for retweets, and you never miss a Follow Friday, and your Pinterest account has several boards for every topic that's relevant to your business, then this presentation might be a little too basic because it's kind of social media 101. But if I lost you back at hashtag or Bushaka, then you're in the right place because we're going to talk about all those things and kind of define some of the main players in social media. So you already heard who I am, but my experience goes back about 29 years in advertising and public relations and marketing in this automotive industry that I love so much. I'm a racer. I raced off-road racing, offshore boats. I water ski raced. So I understand a lot about what you guys do. And I understand the excitement behind it. It's, of course, my favorite part of this whole industry because that's why we're all here is for excitement, really. And, of course, to sell products and make a brand for ourselves. My Twitter handle is right there @Camee1. That's my personal Twitter handle. So if you have any questions, you can send me a tweet, or you can practice on me, and I'll respond to you and let you know what if I have any comments. That is my LinkedIn profile right there. And if you have any more questions about my background, you can check that out. So first of all, what is social media? Since you're already here, you know it's important. But I put in a few comments that I found on the internet that are pretty top-level explanations of what social media are. It's a group of internet-based applications that allow the creation and exchange of user-generated content, social software that mediates human communication. I thought that was pretty cool sounding. A marketplace of ideas, content, concepts, and stories that are shared by community members regardless of where they came from. So in other words, if it came from a blog like Autoblog or Jalopnik, or whether it came from your company, or it doesn't matter where the content comes from, it's still accessible by everyone. So that's kind of what's so exciting about it. This is one of my favorite things. It's the next generation of word-of-mouth advertising. I grew up in this industry, and one of the things my dad taught me a long time ago is that word-of-mouth advertising is one of the most powerful things you can have. It's free, and it is also very passionate. When somebody talks about something they love, then it is very effective. So I actually kind of thought this when I was thinking of putting this presentation together, and then I found it online, other people describing social media that way. It is also a great source for breaking news, race results, technical advice, product info, reviews, and discounts, and the latest and greatest, whatever's happening. It's a community of like-minded individuals, all in one easy-to-reach place. And it's on your smartphone, it's on your laptop, it's on your tablet, your gaming device, and on your television now, if you have one of those smart TVs. I'm just waiting for the price to go down on those. I don't know about you. So why use social media? Once again, you're here, so I don't think it'll take much convincing to explain to you the importance of it, especially since you heard it mentioned in everybody else's presentation as well. It builds brand exposure. By exposing your brand to a larger audience of targeted people, it increases the potential for sales. And the more targeted people who are aware of your brand, the greater the chance you have of turning those into leads, paying clients, and brand advocates. And we see a lot of brand advocates built on the Facebook pages that we manage, which is also very exciting. It humanizes your brand, giving you the opportunity to reach out and connect to customers and develop real one-to-one relationships. Kind of like you do when you go to a race and you talk to somebody face-to-face. I mean, you develop these relationships. You go to the same races year after year, and you develop those relationships. Well, the same thing can happen on social media. You can target your audience using it. The chart I have here, unique visitors to social networking websites in February of 2012. Facebook, that number, 1,166,890,779. You can tell I'm a little number challenged, but anyway, but Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Google+, a ton of unique visitors just in 1 month, according to the site analytics that we researched. It's more pervasive than ever among consumers. 50% of the population currently use Facebook, and more than 37% use Twitter. So it's where your customers are. Another reason to use it. Customer service. It's a great tool for customer service. You can use social media to answer questions, build brand advocates, like I said, increase transparency, and build credibility for your business. With social media, you can highlight to your community that you're available, but also get other people within the community to help you answer your questions. We've seen a lot of times other fans answer questions from other fans. So you think, oh my gosh, I've got to answer this question, but then you go back and you find that it's already been taken care of. And a lot of times it's been done in a very good way. So it's a really good tool that way. Social media networking sites have a very high page rank, as you've heard from some other presenters today, that it helps with your SEO. It helps you be found. So that's another good reason to consider having a good presence on social media. And finally, it provides transparency. So it shows that your business has integrity and values interaction. Criticism and debate, and more importantly, shows that you know how to deal with it. So, when you're on Facebook and you answer a question for one fan, you're showing all the other fans that you have the answers, you're becoming an authority, and you're showing that you really do know what you're talking about. So where do I begin? Sometimes that's a little bit daunting when there's so many platforms out there and so many places to start. But the first thing you have to do is have a plan. And Chris already touched on some really good points that in her 7 steps to creating a plan. But you want to make social media part of your overall marketing plan. So when you decide you're going to take on this challenge, you want to make sure that the logos for all the social media outlets are on your website. Make sure that those, and they're links to your page, that your email signatures have the social media icons, that your packaging, if that's applicable, has the icons on there. So your customers know that you're connected wherever they are. You want to understand your audience and listen. It's really important when you're first starting out to really listen to, especially you can do that using Twitter. Listen to your fans and your customers and build a content strategy that helps build engaged audiences. But the listening part is really important. You want to know what they're looking for. You want to know what kinds of problems and solutions that they have, that your customers have, and you want to know what they're interested in. That will help you know what you need to do to keep them engaged. You want to determine your goals and objectives And this was touched on in Chris's 7 steps. What are your goals? Do you want to build your brand? Do you want to direct traffic to your website? That would be a good idea. You want to reach existing and potential customers. You want to increase brand awareness and sales. You want to improve customer service. Then you want to determine the method of measuring your progress and your results. And some of those methods are the volume, the number of people you're reaching. You want to look at how that volume increases over time, month to month. What is your new reach? You want to see the number of messages and the number of posts, the number of comments, the number of likes that you're getting on Facebook, for example, number of retweets that you're getting on Twitter. You want to look at your reach, your potential audience measured by retweets and shares and everything else. And then engagement. All those things that I just talked about shows you what kind of engagement you're getting. And then your influence. Identify and monitor individuals with a large group of followers. So, you can see that those are your influencers. When you see something get retweeted and it has an audience, a large audience, you want to go back and see who retweeted that. So you can reach out to them and thank them for that retweet. And then hopefully they'll pay attention to what you're doing in the future, and then you'll get more retweets. So it all just kind of builds on each other. You want to see what your share of voice is and how much of the social sphere is talking about you versus the competition. So then you want to develop a strategy. What kind of content are you going to post? And the content doesn't have to be all about your business. I would recommend that there's a lot of content that is just interesting to your fans. So it can be content that you find on other sites. You can repost something that you found that Autoblog might have talked about, or Jalopnik, or performance racing industry. You can repost those things. You can, but make sure there's a good mix of original content, multimedia, questions, or polls on Facebook, branding and promotional. It's okay to have some promotional content, but you just don't want to have too much of it. You want to just do a little of it, see how it goes, see how it's accepted, and then go from there. So it's a lot of posting, tweeting, and then listening and paying attention. What kind of voice are you going to have? This is really important. You want to have a consistent voice. Are you going to be casual? And in our industry, mostly, it's a pretty casual voice. But you want to determine how casual is that voice going to be? How much jargon are you going to use, and be consistent. So it sounds like it's always one person, basically. It sounds like it's one person maybe communicating, but it's more than one person. And I'll get to that in a second. Because the next thing is communicate and identify your key players. Communicate with your key players. So in your business, you say, identify this guy over here or girl is going to be your main social media manager. You want to communicate with that person and explain to them what the voice is, what kind of content, and direct them a little bit and make sure that they're following those guidelines. You want to identify who's doing what, who's responding to fans. You might have more than one person in your business doing this work. You could have one person, for example, paying attention to tech questions and answering those questions and making sure that they're doing that. So, and then you could have another person maybe scheduling the content, the original content. Maybe it's once a week or twice a week you're posting discounts on product or rebates or something that you're doing, or race results. So you can identify your content. And then do you want to have an approval process in place? Is the person that's managing your social media, if they're kind of new to the industry, you might want to have a little approval process in place, and there's tools for doing that as well. And then lastly, you want to build your toolbox. There's a lot of tools out there that allow you to make this process a lot easier. We use something called Spreadfast, but there's also Hootsuite is a very popular software, and there's a free version that you can start with, so you can try it out with that. And then if you really like it, you can go ahead and go into the pro version. But there's a lot of tools that let you schedule and engage, and then measure what you're doing. So I would recommend checking into all that as well. So once you're ready to start, you want to know who the main players are and what you need to know about them. These are the 4 main players that we feel are a good starting point for when you're getting into social media: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Google+. So Facebook, here's some stats for Facebook, and it's amazing how many people are using Facebook. 1 billion monthly active users as of October 2012. 584 million daily active users on average in September of 2012. 604 million monthly active users who use Facebook mobile products. You already heard how mobile is becoming a super popular way to connect with everything, including social media. And that's just growing like crazy. So, you see people on their phones a lot in public places, and a good chance what they're doing is checking their Facebook or looking at Twitter. 140 billion friend connections. And all these facts came from Facebook. 219 billion photos uploaded since they started. 17 billion location tag posts. It's really amazing where they've come, where they are now. My daughter is 25, and she was using Facebook when it was just a platform for school kids. And she got really annoyed when it went public, But it is a very popular platform now for businesses and for personal use as well as everything. So, and Facebook, one thing that's neat about Facebook too is that they're also taking care of businesses. There's a lot of resources online that they have supplied now that help you build your page and monitor your results, and they give you guidance on how to build a good page. So one thing I know that can be very confusing is pages versus profiles. Pages and profiles. Pages is for business, and profiles are for personal individuals. And there's several distinctions between the two of them. The maximum number of followers on a page is unlimited. So if you're a business and you start a page, you can have as many fans as you'd like. A profile, you can only have 5,000 friends. A page, there's no requirement there's no approval process. So if somebody wants to like your page, all they do is click the like button. If you have a profile, you have to accept that friend request, and then they become your friend, and then they can see what's on your page, or your profile, I'm sorry. A page is highly customizable. You can add tabs, you can run contests, lots of things you can do with a page that you can't do on a profile that makes it real business friendly. On a page, you get insights of fan demographics and activity, and we'll get to that later. There's a lot of things you can see in Facebook for free if you're an admin of a page that helps you get better engagement and post the information that you need. On a profile, you can't do that. On a page, there's multiple administrators. So you can set up and have many people administering your page if you're a business. And all those people can help, like I said earlier, make sure that everything gets done in a timely fashion. A profile, you can't do that. You can target updates by location, by language. Your location geo-targeting options go down to the city, the county. I mean, you can get really specific and geo-target posts to just certain areas, which is really handy if you're a local business or if you just want to do a test and target a certain area. You can promote your page with ads and sponsored stories, which Facebook is even getting more aggressive with that kind of thing, to help build your fan base. So that's something you can do with a page, but you can't do that with a profile. Here are some important definitions for Facebook that just a few of the common terms that are used on Facebook. And there's a complete list at the link here on my slide. It's a Facebook glossary, so everything's laid out there. But Just to touch on a few of the important things. The edge rank. It's really important. It's an algorithm that's based on the user's interaction with page content. And so what happens is when you post something on your Facebook page, the more likes and comments and shares that you get determines how many posts will go into your fans' news feeds. So the more interaction you get, the more visibility you get. And it's a bit of a mystery how the edge rank works. It's something that I've heard changes quite often. So it's kind of one of those things that you just kind of keep an eye on and then change your content accordingly. And hope to see that number go into your fans' news feeds. There's a number at the bottom, which I'll show you later, that indicates how many people actually saw your post. The news feed is what I'm talking about. It's an ongoing list of updates on a fan's homepage. And those updates are collected from the fans' friends and from the fans' pages that they've liked. So, you know, I don't know if anybody is familiar with the news feed, but it's the first thing that when you go to Facebook, you'll see this news feed, and it's all the things that Facebook thinks that you'll be interested in looking at. And now you can actually change the way that news feed gives you information. So you can tell it to show most recent posts or most popular posts and actually tailor that news feed. The profile picture is the main photo that appears as a thumbnail next to your posts. So it's the little square image that we usually put the brand's logo in that spot because it's a good, that little thumbnail gets repeated every time you post on your page. So a logo is a good thing to include in your profile picture. The cover photo is the large photo at the top of your timeline. And that is a good place to indicate what you're all about. You know, are you a manufacturer of a certain product, or are you building engines for a certain kind of racing? It's a good place to display that information, and you can get really bold and have a lot of fun with that cover photo. Now, and these images can be changed at any time, so it's really good to, I wouldn't change the profile picture a lot because that is your brand, but the cover photo you can change depending on the seasons or the race season, or if you just won a race or something, you want to put that up there, it's good. There are certain rules to the cover photo, though, that you have to adhere to that Facebook dictates. Like you can't sell things up there. You can't announce a rebate or a sale, say 10% off. They won't let you do that. But there's all that information is online. And then the timeline, which I've mentioned already several times, is the relatively new format for Facebook pages and profiles. And it's a collection of photos and stories and experiences, all organized by time. So you can actually scroll back. And for a business, it's really neat. If you've been around for a certain amount of time, that tells a lot about your company. It dictates a lot of credibility. So you build your timeline back to when you started and show some milestones and things that you've accomplished over time, and that will all show up on Facebook on your timeline. And so it's a really exciting tool to show major events and things that you've accomplished in the course of your business. Facebook analytics, I've already mentioned this. This is a very powerful thing that Facebook provides to all pages, and all administrators can see the analytics. It is under the admin panel at the top of the page. You just click and it'll open up, and you click on Insights and you can see fan demographics. You can, what we really enjoy a lot is the posts. You can see which posts are doing better than other posts in real time. And it'll show different factors like virality and reach and a bunch of different things that show how that post is doing in terms of your fans. And it's just excellent information for continuing to improve your engagement on Facebook. So another important part of analytics is people talking about this, PTAT. And what this is the number of unique people who have created a story about your page. So when you post something and they share it, or they like it, or they comment on your post, that increases your PTAT score. There's one client that we do a weekly report for them to show how their page is doing against other pages in other competitors in their business, and it just shows their PTAT score, people talking about them. They have determined for them that that is one of their most important metrics. So it could be yours as well. Total likes is something that, it's the number of unique people who have liked your page. That is one of the metrics that most people look at. In this example at the bottom, it's the 309,877 total likes for this particular page. This is an example of the metrics that are at the top of your insights on Facebook. This is all free. It shows instantly at a glance that this page is up 0.64%. And friends of fans, they're reaching, when you look at your friend, their fans and the friends of those fans, they're reaching 69,190,571 people. So it can be a very powerful tool. Also, you can, with this admin panel, you can check private messages. Private messages are something that's relatively new as well, that came when they did the timeline. You can now privately respond to your fans and without carrying on a public conversation on your timeline. So that's a really good tool if somebody's asking a really technical question and you don't want to get into it on the timeline, or you think it might go to a sensitive direction that you don't want to publicize. You can just ask them to send you a private message. That's really a handy tool. In the past, we had to say, send us an email, and then you're giving out an email address that maybe you don't want them to always have. So this is a good thing to do. But it's important to remember to check those private messages and respond to them in a timely fashion. Other things that are in that admin panel are notifications and new likes, so you can see at a glance what fans you've just earned. I found this information. I think this is really important to look at. This is some research that was done in 2011 by a company named ExactTarget. But it basically shows what motivated somebody to like a company brand, or an association on Facebook. 40% were to receive discounts and promotions, 39% to show support, 36% to get a freebie, and 34% to stay informed. And then conversely, why people unlike brands on Facebook. I think this is also a very important thing to note, that 44% of the people said they unliked the page because the company posted too often. You've got to consider that people have their news feeds and they're getting information in their news feed, and they see company X posting over and over and over again, and it keeps coming up in their news feed. They could get really annoyed, especially if it's a lot of promotional material or something that they might not be really interested in. They can go back and unlike your page. So something to be aware of. Again, if your wall or your timeline is crowded with marketing posts, they could unlike your page. 43% of the people said they actually took that action for that reason. If your content becomes boring or repetitive, I can't imagine that happening in this industry. We have so many exciting things to talk about, so many exciting results and races and horsepower numbers, test results, all kinds of things to post about and talk about in this business. And Jamie and I from SEMA, we were just talking at the break about how visual this industry is. So much content. We shouldn't be content challenged here. Right? There's just so much to talk about. And sometimes we get a little too close to the woods to see the trees. I know at Edelbrock, we got that a little bit. So go around and talk to some of the other people. I would suggest going around and talking to some of the engineers and some of the other people in your business, in your company, and ask them, for ideas. I mean, this is social media, and I find that getting advice and information from other people really helps kind of broaden your awareness of ideas and things you can do on Facebook and all social media. And then 26% only liked the page for an offer, and then they went back and unliked it. That does happen when you run a huge sweepstake possibly or something, and you give away a car or a huge prize, and people might find you via one of those sweepstakes websites or something, and then unlike your page because of that. But you know, once again, in this business, in this industry, we have such a niche following of fans and things that we don't see that happen a lot. Although Facebook did do a recent cleanup of their site, and all of a sudden we saw a peak in unlikes for one of our clients, and we were, what happened? Well, Facebook was getting rid of a bunch of accounts that were phony. So it caused a bit of a bump in unlikes, but traditionally it's like maybe 10 people a day at most, depending on how many fans you have overall. So Chris had 7 steps, I have 5 steps to success on Facebook. And I actually got 4 steps from Facebook, but I added another one at the end. So this is kind of my tailored version of 5 steps to success. First, you've got to build your page. And I've got an example from one of our clients, Ibach Springs. You've got to build your page. And like I said earlier, use your logo and relevant images to show the fans who you are. You can create tabs such as a product lookup, dealer locator, online catalog, application guides, a lot of different options to build tabs. The tabs are those 4 little squares down in the lower right-hand corner of that image right there. You can add events that you're attending or sponsoring, races that you're going to build your page. Then you want to connect with people, and you can increase your fans with advertising. There's a lot of different ways to advertise on Facebook, and one thing that we found that's really cool is that Facebook advertising is typically really affordable. We looked up the average cost per click is 70 cents per click, which is pretty low. The agency cost per response is 49 cents. So this is I found this on InsideFacebook.com, that average. But that's a pretty affordable way to build your fan base. Because when you first start out, you're not going to get a lot of fans right off the bat. Unless you have a website that has a lot of traffic, and you put that icon, that Facebook icon on your website, you can generate some traffic to Facebook. But advertising really helps build the fan base. There's a lot of different ways to advertise on Facebook. There's sponsored stories and promoted posts. You'll see when you post something on Facebook, there's a little icon that says promote. So you can click on that icon and you can actually, determine how much you want to spend right off the bat. They'll tell you how many fans you can reach when you spend this amount. So they've made it really easy to do things like that. Because as I've said earlier, all your posts will not go to all of your fans in their news feed by organic methods. But you can increase that percentage by advertising. Options also include on Facebook is you can advertise an event, you can advertise an external website, and of course you can geo-target for location, and you can determine the gender, the education, are they a Chevy fan, a Ford fan? You can really dial it down and target your audience with advertising. Then you want to engage your audience. You want to make sure your posts are relevant to your audience or your business. You want to be friendly and conversational. Like I said earlier, it's kind of like talking to somebody in person at an event. So determine your voice and then be consistent. But a conversational tone is okay, just like a face-to-face conversation. You want to share photos and videos because they tend to be more engaging right now anyway. We don't know how that'll go in the future, but right now photos and videos are pretty engaging. In fact, according to HubSpot, which is another tool, a social media tool, photos generate 53% more likes and 104% more comments than the average post, so they can be really effective. They also show up really big, and they're really a lot of eye appeal. So it's a good tactic. Asking questions, there's a thing called polls that you can do on Facebook, and and then you can ask a question and actually see the responses and the percentage of who likes what. And it's really fun, especially in our industry. We can do a lot of things like, are you a Chevy or a Ford fan? You know, that usually gets them going pretty much. So you can provide access to exclusive information and specials. So, you know, I like to, the inside scoop. If you've got things going on in your business that maybe nobody would know unless you're on the inside, and it's not proprietary, you can share that with your social media fans and followers, and it's really kind of fun for them to see that. Of course, you want to be timely, and you want to post right away if it's about a current event or a race or something. Then you want to influence your friends of fans, and you'd influence your friends of fans by encouraging people to check in at your business. If you have a retail location, you can have them sign in or offer a special discount to people who check in. That will reach out to the friends of fans. You can create events on your page and invite people to join them. You can ask questions and create posts that encourage engagement, like I've already said. You can, and again, share exclusive information and offers that people are likely to pass along. So you want to get that sharing number to go up. Then finally, you measure your results by looking at your admin panel and the Facebook Insights and noticing which posts are more engaging and more shared and commented on and liked, and see that virality score. Whatever's highest for that post, you can maybe come up with some posts that are similar to that content and continue in that same vein. So here's the anatomy of a post. At the top, this post is for Edelbrock, and it is from the SEMA show, and it mentions the Pirelli World Challenge Championships. You can see that it's tagged because it's blue, the type is blue. So we tagged Pirelli World Challenge to increase the visibility of that post. We also included a bit.ly URL, that's a shortened URL for the Pirelli World Challenge site, so they can go there and see what we're talking about, and that helps increase engagement. Number two, the photo increases engagement, as I've already said, and it fits within our overall strategy. We know that a lot of the fans on the Edelbrock page are fans of this car, of this brand, the Scion FRS. We know they're fans of racing. We know that they're interested in the SEMA show. So this post, this photo really targeted, it fit within our strategy. And you can see that the results of this post, this is what I'm talking about, the shares. We got 60 shares, 967 likes, and 11 comments, which is pretty good engagement for this post. And you can see the share number over to the right below the picture. And that's something you want to pay attention to. And then the number of likes is listed right below it next to the little thumbs up. And the number of comments. Did they like it too? I don't know. Number of comments is below that. And then the news feed that I'm talking about at the very bottom, I don't know if you can see it, but it shows that about 10% of the fans received this post in the news feed organically. Those are organic results. We didn't promote this post, and it did pretty well in terms of getting into the news feeds. So Twitter is probably the second most popular social media outlet with 340 million tweets per day. Again, when I showed my boss these numbers, he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes, I got them straight from Twitter." So they are staggering results, and it's just, back in the day when we were doing print advertising, and just to get that many eyeballs, would be an amazing feat. So it's great to see this. 140 million active users, over 1 billion tweets. That's 140 character messages sent every 3 days. 1 billion tweets sent every 3 days. Tweets are available to anyone, whether they're logged in or not. So they're public. That is, if you do the right thing to make them public, and I'll get to that in a minute. But what can you do with Twitter? You can influence and participate in real-time conversations. Twitter is much faster than any other social media outlet. You can drive consumer action. And Twitter is one place where you can post more offers, and you can be a little more promotional and tell them about deals and discounts and get away with it. People don't get mad and unlike you on Twitter. They might unfollow you, but people are used to seeing a lot of information all at once, so it's okay. And you can listen and gather important market intelligence and insights. So here's some important definitions for Twitter. The @ sign, that is used to call out usernames and tweets. And you saw in the beginning, I said my handle is @Camee1. So that is how you that is how you call somebody out in a tweet. You start out with the @ symbol and then put in their username. It links it to their profile, so they will see it on their profile, and it increases engagement when you do that in a tweet. A direct message is a private tweet between the sender and the recipient. So if you start out a tweet and it just starts out @ so-and-so, whatever that username is, and then talk to that person, it will only go to that person unless you put a period in front of it. That makes it public. So Follow Friday is something I mentioned in the beginning. It is where users suggest on a Friday who to follow by tweeting a string of those Twitter handles with the hashtag Follow Friday, hashtag FF. And that's something that's been going on for quite a long time, and it's something that you can do to, people appreciate that when you mention somebody in a Follow Friday, it'll raise your awareness of your presence on Twitter. So it's a good tactic. The handle is something I've already mentioned. It's the username with the @ symbol. Mentions are when somebody mentions you in a tweet and it has your @ symbol with your Twitter handle in it. That's a mention. And then a retweet is just the act of forwarding another tweet. It's usually when you either appreciate the content or you want to thank them or you want to congratulate them. You can retweet their tweet, and then this sounds really silly, huh? And then I like it when, on the news stations and everything, they start talking about Twitter and they all start giggling because they just sound so silly. But so that's the act of forwarding another tweet. So it gets to all your followers. It's another really good tool. Then I did a whole slide for hashtags because hashtags are the SEO of Twitter. It helps people find relevant topics on Twitter that, like I said before, is crowded with a lot of information. So you can put a hashtag before a keyword or a phrase, and that becomes more searchable on Twitter. You can click on the hashtag word, and all the relevant information should come up, although I just tried it before I came up here, and some of the stuff that came up for PRI wasn't exactly relevant to PRI. So just take that into consideration. But it is a tool for making your tweets possibly more engaging, and you can create trends on Twitter using a hashtag. So it's a very good tool. And sites like hashtags.org identify popular hashtags and trending topics. So you can sometimes you can latch onto a trending topic, and your tweets will be found. You'll be more readily found. I put an example here from that mentions Brad Keselowski. I'm sure a lot of you probably saw him tweeting on the racetrack in February, and he became an instant Twitter star because of that. While they had a red flag situation, and he was tweeting from the. Everybody was saying, where did he put his phone in the race car? Where was that? So anyway, I thought that was fun. And then the nationwide, you can see that NASCAR has used the hashtag NASCAR and for the hashtag for the nationwide series in the tweet, so it can be more readily found. The URL is for a picture that goes along with the tweet, which is another good tactic. And one thing about hashtag words, they can go anywhere in the tweet, along with @ mentions. So a lot of times, if you just have something and you don't want to mess up your tweet with something that doesn't fit really well with the wording. You can tag it onto the end and it'll still do the same thing. Some best practices for Twitter are to share photos and behind-the-scenes info about your business. Give people a glimpse of developing products and events, and because users come to Twitter to get the latest information, the latest and greatest, and what's happening right now. I know when I'm a USC football fan, and when I can't be in front of, unfortunately, we didn't do very well this year. When I couldn't be in front of the television to see what was happening on the football game, I could follow on Twitter. I just followed some fans of the football team, and then I could see what was happening. So it's a good tool that way. Of course, like I've said already, listen. Regularly monitor the comments about your company, brand, and products to see what's happening. I don't think you can really do that anywhere else in real time. Ask questions of your followers and gather valuable insights and show that you're listening. Respond to compliments and feedback as quickly as possible. It is a fast method of communication. And reward. You can tweet updates about special offers, discounts, and time-sensitive deals. You can demonstrate leadership and knowledge and make yourself a leader in your business by sharing the relevant information. And once again, it doesn't have to always be about you. It could just be about some other kind of important bit of knowledge that you might want to share that your followers will appreciate, and it will put you in a position of leadership. You want to champion your stakeholders, so you want to retweet and reply publicly to great tweets posted by your followers and customers. People love to be acknowledged, so this is a really easy way to acknowledge those people, and you can use tools like say thank you with TY instead of thank you. You can thank them once again for following you, and a lot of people set up automatic tweets that go out when somebody follows you, and that tweet goes out and thanks the person for following them, and it's a good way of acknowledging those people. And once again, like I said earlier, you want to establish the right voice and be consistent. Twitter users tend to prefer a direct, genuine, and conversational tone, like I've said earlier, but it's more so with Twitter. Here's the anatomy of a tweet. The top example is of a retweet. We retweeted something for IBOC, and we started off saying, I think we're in love, which fits with our voice, that we have a more casual tone. And it's something from Speed Hunters, so that's the @SpeedHunters Twitter handle in there. They have unbelievable content and beautiful photos and things that we like to share with our fans, so that's what that is. The content, like I'm saying, it fits the overall strategy and matches the voice, and the bit.ly URL in there directs them to the website for Speed Hunters, so we retweeted their tweet. The second example shows the use of a Twitter handle to improve our engagement and put our tweet in front of Audi. So we tagged Audi and the FIA World Championships, and we also put another Twitter handle in there for their blog. So you can go in and search for all these different, if you're tweeting about something that has some brands mentioned in there, some big brands, you can go in and search in Twitter and see what their handle is, because you've got to know what that handle is to make sure it works. So you can find those handles and then include them in your tweet, and it increases engagement dramatically. And that bottom tweet also has a photo attached that increases the potential for sharing. And I just want to mention here too, if you have any questions, please send me a tweet, @Camee1. And you can include the hashtag winning eRace, and I can do a search for that and hopefully find your question if I don't see it in my feed. So hashtag winning eRace. And if you want to tweet about the show while you're here, that's a really great way to also share relevant information. Here you are at a show. Not everybody can come to the show, so you can take pictures and then tweet about it. If you have an iPhone, you can easily just, if it's a newer model iPhone, they have a really easy way to tweet and share on your Facebook now by just tapping on the icon. You can include @PRI_show, and that will tag the PRI show and increase engagement there. Or you can use the hashtag performance racing industry, all one word. Hashtags always they're all one word. There's no spaces. Okay, the next platform is YouTube. And you've already heard a little bit about YouTube and how powerful videos are at reaching people. I mean, videos are just like one of the #1 tools that we find, that's really effective on all the social media platforms. Over 800 million unique monthly users on YouTube. Over 4 billion hours of video watched each month. That's just mind-blowing. 72 hours of video uploaded every minute. Some of it may be about a cat, chasing a dog or something like that, but a lot of it is very engaging, and places like publishers like Source Interlink and Performance Racing Industry, and they have channels that they've built on YouTube that are reaching out to all of our customers and making it even a better experience. In 2011, YouTube had more than 1 trillion views, or around 140 views for every person on Earth. Sorry for reading that, but I just can't imagine. It just amazes me. And millions of subscriptions happen each day, allowing people to connect with someone or something that they're interested in. So it's a very powerful tool. It's social video. 500 years of YouTube videos are watched every day on Facebook. This came from YouTube. Over 700 YouTube videos shared each minute via Twitter. 100 million people like, comment, or share on YouTube every week. More than 50% of the videos have been rated or include comments from a community. And clicks on like or dislike have doubled since January 2011. So it's a very fast-growing platform. And just like the other platforms, you can like, comment, and there's a lot of things to do on YouTube as well, like engaging with your followers or the subscribers. On YouTube, they're called subscribers. So you can respond to them, they can ask questions of you, and it's same as the other platforms, you can engage your potential and existing customers there as well. So one thing that I think that's really important with YouTube is when you're getting started on YouTube is to create a company Google account. You want to choose an email address which is not your work email or your personal email address for a lot of obvious reasons. But since this is going to be shared by everybody in your organization, you want to make sure that your password is shareable and it's not one of your personal favorites. That you don't want to give them your password and think, oh my gosh, they're going to get into all my bank accounts and stuff. But no, you want to make it a company account to start your YouTube account. And pick an email address that's an alias for the primary email address. And I put an example there, Jane's team email account @company.com. So kind of basic, but really important. We've actually had some issues because clients have started their YouTube channel using a personal email account, and they don't want to give it to us. So that's an important thing to think of when you're starting on YouTube. Then you want to upload and share. Upload your company videos, and you want to share your videos via the other social channels, as I've already mentioned. There's a tool called AutoShare that automatically shares your YouTube activity as a feed to Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. So there's some really handy tools that will help you connect your YouTube efforts to all your other social media efforts. And then you can use YouTube, of course, to embed your videos on your website or your blog. And there's code provided for a variety of video sizes, so you can even tailor it to the specific size that you want. And there's a lot of other tools that are available when you're embedding the videos. So then you want to personalize your YouTube channel. You want to make it just like the other social media outlets. You want to make it your own. Use a background color and images and your logo to make it your own channel and make it consistent across all the social media outlets. So when they go to YouTube and they've just been on Facebook or Twitter, they can see that it's the same company. So it's a very consistent, and you've heard that from everybody else too. Consistency is important in social media as well. But you can set your options and your account settings and your privacy settings and your notifications and everything, so you want to make sure that's all set. And then use the analytics tab on YouTube. It's very powerful. You can learn about your audience and better target people who are already watching, or to reach out to new audiences. The analytics tab includes some really cool stuff, like how many views, demographics, playback locations, traffic sources, audience retention. There's also engagement reports, like information about your subscribers, likes and dislikes, favorites, comments, sharing, and annotations. So there's a lot of powerful tools that are free on YouTube. On YouTube, you can also monetize your videos. They have to be your original videos. Everything has to be your content. You have to be really careful about having the worldwide distribution rights to everything on the video. So if you have music on that video that is not your own, don't try to monetize it. It won't work. YouTube won't let you do that. So it has to be totally yours. But I would imagine that there might be some cool content that you could actually monetize on YouTube. The ads are placed inside or near the video, which earn the revenue. And the earnings depend on the several factors, including the type of ads that are shown and the pricing of the ads that are appearing in the videos. And the payments are managed through a Google AdSense account. So, and once again, there's a lot of information on YouTube to help you do this. I'm not going to get into details about that, but there's a link on my slide about monetization. So you can look there and see how to do that. But it's another great tool. So our next outlet is Google+, and you've already heard a lot about that. It's a relatively new social media outlet, as you already know. It is over 1 million businesses and brand pages were created in the first 6 months. You know, Google went out and got some pretty big brands to build pages on their social media outlet, and it was very powerful. These stats came from Google, from their pages, from their website. Over 400 million Google+ users, and it's growing really fast. 5 to 10% click-through rate uplift for socially enhanced search ads. You already heard about how when you have a Google+ account, your search results can improve greatly for all your different online properties. Why Google+? It's powered by Google. So it's a good reason to take a look at it, as you've already heard. You can get this is one thing that Google+ has that Facebook doesn't have. You can get face-to-face with customers using Hangouts and video chat. And that can be a really fun thing, and you saw an example of that earlier, where you can do a video chat with different bracers and connect your customers directly, or your fans, directly to the people you want them to see. And it builds your credibility and does all kinds of great things for brand building and for potentially selling product. It allows for connections on multiple levels, which is another thing that Facebook doesn't do. They have the circles of influence well, not circles of influence, that's another marketing thing, but the circles where you can target certain people depending on what circle they're in. So you can target your fans that way. It has really in-depth data and reporting, which is attached to all the other Google reporting that they do. So it can be a very good resource for measuring. And there's more. And I'm not going to go into detail about all these sites, a lot of detail, but once you've established your presence on those other 4 social media outlets, here are some other options. Instagram. Instagram is owned by Facebook. It allows you to share photos from your smartphone, an iPhone, or an Android. It doesn't go to all smartphones yet, but it doesn't work on Windows 7 or the new Windows phones yet, but they're working on that. You can get creative with filters and share the photos with your followers, so it's similar to Twitter where you have followers. It also integrates well with Facebook, Twitter, and Flickr, so it works well. It's a good thing to do along with your Facebook page. I'm going to show you an example in a second. And now they allow companies to create profiles online. So it's not just on your smartphone, it also has a strong web presence. Pinterest is something that started out, and everybody was saying it's mostly for women. But we are actually working with a few of our clients on Pinterest now. It's becoming more and more automotive targeted. You can create boards of similar topics and pin visuals. Once again, we're visual, so you can have a lot of fun with that, and share images that are relevant to those topics, and share them with the community, and people can follow you, and it's a growing social media outlet. Flickr is the 2 dots, that logo right there in the lower right-hand corner. It's owned by Yahoo, so it's a very big potential. They say that there's over 1.5 million groups and over 70 million photographers on Flickr because it's a good storage site for photos. But it also integrates with Google+ and Facebook accounts. So you can store all your photos there, you can decide which ones you want to share, and then hit share, and you can share them on your Facebook page or your Google+ page. LinkedIn is something that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. I call it a B2B or a networking site, because that's primarily what we see it as, is a B2B or networking tool. As of some of the LinkedIn stats were also pretty staggering. As of September 30th, 2012, LinkedIn operates the world's largest professional network on the internet with more than 187 million members in over 200 countries and territories. As of September 2012, professionals are signing up at a rate of approximately 2 members per second. And LinkedIn members did nearly 4.2 billion professionally oriented searches on the platform in 2011 and are on pace to surpass 5.3 billion in 2012. So it's also fast growing. They just announced a new social dashboard that's similar to a news feed in Facebook. So I don't know if anybody's been on there recently, but there's a news feed now, and it's becoming much more graphically pleasing. So look to see LinkedIn growing and becoming possibly more of a tool to reach to consumers as well. Here's that example I was telling you about with Instagram and Facebook. It's a powerful combination for engagement we have found. And this is pretty recent that we found this. On the left is iBox page online, Instagram profile. It's a composition of a lot of the photos they've posted. It's a composition of many of the photos they've posted on Instagram with a little profile pic and a description of their business. Their handle is iBox_world. And then we shared something from Instagram directly to their Facebook page, and that post got 42 shares, and this is all organic, no advertising, 1,391 likes, 8 comments, and 29,834 fans saw the post in their newsfeed. So it was a really good result when it came straight from Instagram into Facebook. So we found some good results there. And I'm happy to report that iBox just reached 300,000 fans today, so pretty excited about that. It's fun to watch that grow. Anyway, a little plug, shameless plug. My final thoughts about social media is pretty simple. It's about engaging your audience. You hear that word a lot, but it's true. I mean, you're engaging your audience in a way that used to only happen face-to-face at races and at events, and very powerful tool. You can listen to what is being said about the company brand. You can recognize when an opportunity presents itself to engage in that conversation or create a new one. You can deliver corporate content of real value to community members, and you can monitor and adapt to responses to that content. So it's an amazing tool. We found it to be very successful for our clients, and I really appreciate. And I have, the last slide is additional resources that you can go to help build your pages on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. And then I like the first one, the 13 reasons why it's non-negotiable for businesses. So some pretty powerful resources. Thank you for listening. Thank you for having me. Are there any questions?
Let's say we have time for one or two if
Okay.
anybody.
No questions?
No?
Is your dad a client?
Yes, my dad's a client, but we don't manage their social media, though, actually. I just advise on the side. That's a good question.
Can you get a copy of this seminar?
I think we're going to be able to do, yes, for sure. Yeah, because I put a lot of links in there that are really valuable and to get you more information.
I'm told our Generation X followers, fans, particularly grifters and stuff, are finding Facebook a bit passé these days. What do you think is the next thing to replace it?
Well, judging from the engagement and the results that we're seeing, it's not there yet. So, but like I mentioned, the other properties, Instagram, and Instagram is really popular amongst the younger generations. So paying attention to those other properties is a good thing to do because it is changing a lot. I mean, I've heard that said already today, but that is so true of social media as well. And I recommend subscribing to some RSS feeds for different places like Mashable and where you can get information as it happens and as it changes, because it does change quite a bit. But Facebook is still really powerful for us. What we're seeing is really good so far. So, anything else? You are allowed multiple accounts, and a lot of the clients that we have a business Twitter account, and then they have their own personal Twitter accounts. I gave you my personal Twitter account so I could help you out, but you're allowed to have multiple accounts to set up your business. Yeah. So does that answer your question? I'm sorry, I didn't repeat the question. Okay. Thank you. Oh, one more question?
Billions of people looking at Facebook. Do people that look at Facebook actually buy racing engines? I'm wasting my time there, and so forth. I mean, are there ways to get your arms around
The question was, are there demographics available to find out if people on Facebook really buy racing engines? And yes, there are demographics like that available. And if you want to send me a tweet, and I'll send you some more information about where you can find those demographics and things like that. All right, thanks. Oh, that's my water.
Awesome, thank you.